G'day, it's Fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now, I've just published another article in relation to Dan Andrews and the HSU fraud. This time I focused on Nick Katsis and an estimated total of $20 million that's been stolen from the Health Services Union, Victoria No. 1 branch, or known as the Health Workers Union. That's their trading name, the Health Workers Union. Now, I focused on Nick Katsis because his fraud is current and it's blatantly obvious. He promotes himself as an immigration consultant or migration consultant, or whatever he wants to call himself. And you can go onto his LinkedIn profile and it says there he's a migration consultant. He's been one for 15 odd years. And you can go to a law firm's website, Dormite Legal, and on there's Nick Katsis with a profile saying he's been a migration consultant for 13 years. But the problem is, if you go to the Health Services Union, Victoria No. 1 branch, Health Workers Union, you'll have Nick Katsis on there as a union official. And he's been there since at least 2013 because he was busted by the Royal Commission, illegally claiming that he'd done a test, a union test or right of entry test back in 2013, but someone else had done it. And they published a judgment, I think in 2014 or 2015, recommending criminal charges against Nick Katsis and others. So he's been there since at least 2013. His good mate, Diana Asmar, won control of the union end of 2012, so he either started there at the end of 2012 or sometime in 2013. I've been advised he actually started there in 2012 when Diana Asmar took over. So that's 10 years he's been there, on a wage of over $100,000. That's $1 million. He's still there at the Health Services Union, or Health Workers Union, and he's still advertising on the law firm's website, Dormite Legal, as an immigration consultant. Well, it's well known, and I've got contacts within the Health Workers Union who tell me that Nick Katsis has been working there for 10 years as an immigration consultant. He uses the union's office and their resources, you know, mobile phone, laptop, all that sort of thing, printing, to run his migration consultancy business from the union. So exactly how much he makes as a migration consultant, I'm not too sure, but I suspect he'd make 100, 2, 3, 400,000 from that as well. But he gets a wage from the union, a bit of cream on the top for him. And it's just so openly, blatantly corrupt. The reason I know how much he's making there is because you can go onto the Registered Organisations Commission website. That's where it's a website run by the government, where organisations like the unions have to supply financial records every year, and also they have to supply the records of the top 5 employees, the wages, etc. And Nick Katsis shows up as number 4 for the 2021 year, 120 odd thousand plus, I can't remember, 15, 20 grand in super, etc. And I understand he's now getting a company car as well. So in the article I published on Sunday the 20th of October on my website, you'll see all the exact details on there, and I've got links to all the various websites so you can confirm it yourself. Here he is on LinkedIn, promoting himself as a migration consultant on Dormite Legal. He's advertising as a migration consultant for the law firm. So they'd hardly be promoting him on there if he's doing 2 or 3 hours a week as a migration consultant. He's obviously working there full time. And on his LinkedIn website and also on Dormite Legal, he makes no mention of the fact that he's been a union official, a full-time union official for the last 10 years. It's just a scam. And I thought it was important to write about Nick Katsis to show that the fraud that's been happening at the Health Workers Union is happening now. It's current. Because the article I wrote a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned the Trade Union Royal Commission and the findings they made in relation to the corruption of the Health Workers Union. And a couple of comments said, oh, well, that's years ago, Shane. Well, the latest article, it shows the fraud is actually currently happening at the Health Workers Union. That's very important. It's well known within the union movement and the Labor Party that's been going on for the last 10 years. The Health Workers Union is just used as a slush fund for Labor Party crooks and cronies. And Dan Andrews, a couple of years ago, before the 2018 election, he awarded them $3.4 million in government contracts. And he would have known, everyone knows the fraud and theft that's going on at the Health Workers Union. But he didn't care. That $3.4 million, supposedly for training, was just a blatant bribe to win support from the Health Workers Union for his leadership ambitions and continued leadership of the Victoria Labor Party. Now, a few people have criticised me for attacking Dan Andrews. The reason I'm going after Dan Andrews is quite simple. The Age broke the story a couple of weeks ago that the IBAC, which is a Victorian Corruption Commission, was investigating Dan Andrews and the Health Workers Union. I have a good knowledge of the Health Workers Union. So I investigated and put all the pieces together, and I've written a couple of articles about it now. The latest article I wrote on Sunday is actually an exclusive. You're not going to find that information anywhere else, but it's all documented. You can click on the links yourself. So it's relevant to Dan Andrews and his re-election. I believe most people in Victoria should be looking at voting independent, because the opposition leader, the Liberal Party leader, is a clown, from what I can tell. But it's up to the people of Victoria. But if I get information that the Victorian Premier is linked to corruption, well, I've got an obligation to report it. I think one of the biggest things that's bringing down the major parties at the moment is the rusted-on supporters, who, if anyone shines a light on corruption in those parties, they come out and they attack those journalists. Well, it doesn't work with me. So make sure you visit my site, Kangaroo Court of Australia, and click on that article, and you'll be able to read all the relevant information and further information, and also click on the links to have it verified. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, please click on the like and subscribe button, and please share it on Twitter and Facebook and other social media. And my Patreon account, which I use to fund these videos and fund my website, is currently sitting on 228 supporters. If you could support that, it would be great. You can donate any amount, $3, $5, $7, $10, $15, $20, whatever suits your budget. Most people can afford $3 or $5 a month. And there'll be a link just below the video or on my website for the Patreon account. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.